everybody, and welcome to Certified Life Coach Institute's CLCI Live. Before we begin, be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Ask us your questions, share your awkward stories. We love interacting with all of you. We haven't had a lot of people interacting in a little while, I think.
I know.
We're getting
Where
sad.
are the peeps at? Maybe they'll come back around.
We're wasting away.
Um,
Maybe, Brooke, can we pay people to just interact with us?
we could. I'm sure there is a service that would do that. Yeah.
It's awfully lonely here. We're doing being human 101. Last time we talked about being forgetful in memory. Today we're talking about awkward moments, the hidden cost of social slip-ups, and why small social blunders feel disproportionately embarrassing, and how accumulated social awkwardness can erode self-esteem over time.
You're just gonna read? Just stop it. Just
And
stop.
we're going to also talk about coaching clients through acceptance, humor, and reframing social gaffes.
How about we don't just read things and we?
Well, I'm just sort of setting the stage for the conversation.
Well, I think you can do better. That's what I'm saying.
I'd like to see you do better.
You would have if you had let me speak, but you were being very.
Is this getting awkward or what?
Awkward.
What I find awkward is that my phone went off and now there's someone at my door and I'm very confused about what they're doing.
Maybe it's an Amazon delivery person and they're having trouble making sure that it's you.
What on earth? He left something. What did he leave? He left something at the door.
It's a delivery person.
Have you ever had a delivery before?
It's not. It's not Amazon, and I didn't order anything, so I don't know what that is. I bet it's the wrong house. I bet it's the wrong house.
But they called your number, so
no, that was a ring doorbell.
That was the ring doorbell.
Oh, okay.
Could it have been USPS?
No. This was like a teenage boy.
Oh, well,
probably a love letter.
Yeah,
that's not awkward.
Awkward. Jen has a secret admirer.
Oh, a boy put something at a wrong house. That is what happened here.
Okay, whatever you say. So what's being awkward? What is awkwardness?
That's a good question. We definitely need to nail that definition down.
I would also like to explore this mysterious package that Jen got, but we should probably get back to the point of the live, being awkward, awkwardness. It's like, being embarrassed. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I think that you can't. I think I don't know. Can you be awkward without being embarrassed?
Yes, I think so. Like,
I think so too. I think I am that person.
Someone has to be embarrassed. There has to be.
I think I'm always just awkward, but I'm not embarrassed.
There has to be an embarrassed party.
No, I think discomfort. There has to be discomfort of someone.
So if I am not embarrassed, I'm making somebody else uncomfortable.
Yeah. Or the situation for you or someone else is just uncomfortable or unpleasant or difficult or cumbersome. Like,
what if I don't notice?
Oh, but then it's not awkward, right? If you're not feeling any of those other things, it's not awkward. It was just
for you, could be awkward for the other person.
I'm saying even a situation could be awkward where neither person is doing anything that's awkward in and of themselves.
One of the reasons I'm saying this is because as somebody who is neurodivergent, I'm a neurodivergent human. I can often be awkward and not notice if I'm making other people uncomfortable or not. Like, you know what I mean? That was just something, like I think I was a lot more self-conscious about it when I was younger and I overanalyzed it and all of these things. And then at some point I just went.
You had a high amount of awkwardness, but a high amount of empathy. You just lost all your empathy.
You know what awkward is? Is you could put middle school next to that definition, and I think we all understand that's what awkward is.
Nah, yes. Cool guy.
So I think, but if we want to like get in like to like the nitty, like nail it down, I think that we human beings are social creatures, right? So we work most of the time in communities, like we are in social situations, and because of that, there is social norms that have been developed. So there is particular expectations we have for how interactions with other people will be and should be, right? I think when we deviate from the social norm, by accident, perhaps, knowingly or unknowingly, is when maybe these awkward moments come up. Does that sound fair?
I would agree. It's
to take all the emotion bits out of it, you know?
Yeah, not meeting social expectations of some kind, I would say.
Yeah.
Is fairly accurate.
Anthony,
I'll accept that.
Yeah,
I'll accept that. I wanted to just provide like maybe an instance where a situation can be awkward where neither person's really at fault. Where it's like, I don't know, like
I'm not assigning blame in that. All I said was like a deviation from the social norm.
I'll even go as far as to say the social norm is established. It's just the situation is awkward. And like my example would be like breaking up with someone.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
you could do it in the most socially graceful way, but it can still feel awkward for both parties. Or maybe delivering like bad news.
Or a handshake or a hug for some reason can go really wrong, and it's like, whose fault is it? You're not really sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like you go in for a kiss and they're like
I've been accidentally kissed on the cheek before, like accidentally, or I've had people that were kisser, like, you know, and it's like just they're like, oh, bye, mwah, mwah, and it's like, whoa.
Well, I've had it where I've almost like someone's going in for a cheek kiss, but I do the wrong
actually
cheek.
Turn your head, yeah.
It's almost like we're about to kiss each other on accident.
Normally it's quick and scary. Like, yeah, no, I've had those.
Or like, okay, what about like firing someone? That could be socially awkward, even though, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, is awkward. How is awkward different from uncomfortable?
I don't think it's all that different. An awkward position, like think about like when you say like being in an awkward position, like a physically awkward position.
Let me ask AI.
You don't need to ask AI. They're not here.
No, that's important. We need the distinction. What's the distinction between awkward and discomfort?
There is discomfort in awkwardness, though. So I think they're one and the same.
Being awkward is being discomfort, but I guess maybe being discomforted is not.
Okay, so AI has told me that awkwardness and discomfort are related, but awkwardness often involves a specific feeling of being out of place or lacking social grace in a situation, while discomfort is more of a general feeling of unease or lack of ease.
So,
yeah, they're related.
Yeah.
So the big thing is the social aspect of it, like the sense of either belonging or not fitting in.
Yeah,
being out of place.
So I think that
contrasted with being in place,
where awkwardness comes in, the big thing is the social interaction portion of it. Like the examples they give: awkward tripping on stage or forgetting someone's name, or crossing a boundary in a social interaction.
I've done that.
Discomfort is feeling anxious during public speaking, not feeling well after eating certain food, or feeling uncomfortable in a room full of people. Essentially, so. One doesn't, I think the awkwardness is more of this social interaction piece is more important in it to sort of nail that down a little more intensely or deliberately.
I can't imagine being by myself and then being like, oh, I feel so awkward.
I felt awkward in my own skin by myself.
Yeah, I have too. I actually had it the other day. I was running in my neighborhood and I have not great vision from a distance. And I saw this woman that I thought was my mother-in-law. Don't ask me why I thought my mother-in-law was in my neighborhood, but I was like, that's her. And I started waving like real excited. And
that's not you being by yourself. That is you assaulting a stranger.
This woman was just like, And as I got closer, I made the connection, and then I realized, why did I think that was my mother-in-law, Jen? That is so weird. And then I was just like, hey, I'm sorry. I have real bad vision. You look like a completely different person to me. To be honest, you could be anyone. And she was just like, oh, okay.
Thank you for sharing.
Real aggressive runner saying hello. Goodbye. That was super awkward. And I felt awkward. I don't know if she felt awkward. She looked like she felt awkward, but I sure as hell did.
But she got a story now, though, to tell her friends.
Yeah,
Now I'm afraid to run in that part of the neighborhood. No, I'm just kidding.
I think you can be awkward with yourself if you have certain thoughts. Maybe thinking back on an awkward situation, that could be a possibility. I do that all the time, where I just think about an instance. I have like PTSD right before I go to bed, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
1000%.
I can feel awkward trying on clothes. I know that sounds weird, but and this can be by myself, where like I'm putting together an outfit and I'm good at, and I'm like, ugh, I feel really awkward, and it's just not, I don't feel like myself. I feel weird. All these things. I can definitely feel awkward. Another situation where I feel really awkward is something I've learned more recently, because I do aerial stuff now, like circus performance stuff, and I have to watch back the videos of it, like, so, and I can be by myself and I'm like pulling faces, right? Like I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, because it can be just really awkward to like watch myself and the way I'm moving, and in my head it's one way and then seeing it is another way, or you notice like those weird moments, and so that can feel there is something that feels very awkward, very vulnerable about that for me. Yeah, and I'm by myself for that. So,
seeing yourself on video is one of the most awkward things I've ever experienced. It makes me feel just like out of my skin, uncomfortable. I'm like, what? That's me.
You're like, this is how people see me in real life. Having to go through these videos sometimes, like for just like writing the blogs, I am ashamed at how I act sometimes.
I can't listen to it. Like I can't even listen. Like, so if he's like doing it in the other room, I like have to leave the room. I can't. Like I can't.
Oh my gosh!
It just feels.
Wow.
We act like a bunch of animals.
I don't like hearing my own. No, I just don't like hearing my own voice. I don't know what it is. I'm like, I don't want to hear myself talk. But those, I can feel awkward. So those are some alone awkward.
Mm-hmm. But like those are all stemming from like our fear of how other people perceive us. Like whether it's the clothes we wear and we feel awkward, or the faces we make. It all has a social component to it. Is what we're saying.
I have one too that went into shame, not fun. I was at a neurofeedback class I was taking. It was a week-long class. The teacher was an actual doctor of rocket science. You know, he had all these accolades. He was also a doctor of neuroscience, right? Neurologist. And one of the days he invited some of us to go to lunch. Not specifically, if you all want to go to lunch with me, this is where I'm going. So I went. I was excited to go and sit and listen at this table, and a bunch of other neuroscientists there. Not a neuroscientist here, but they were. And they were having this conversation. And I was just listening and nodding my head. And he goes, well, what do you think? And I'm going, oh, this is a swear word. I don't even know what you're saying.
As you're just like sagely nodding your head, be like, yeah.
I mean, I did have something to come back, and I, of course, understand a bit of it, but not to their degree by any means. And I slowly slunk away because I was I felt so awkward in that moment, and I felt so embarrassed, and I felt so much shame in that moment. It was a lot of work.
Not being a rocket scientist.
Yeah.
That is pretty embarrassing of you, Lisa.
How shameful, Lisa, that you are not a rocket scientist.
Both not a rocket scientist or a neuroscientist.
Yes, well, It was in
But I
that
get it.
moment. It
I
was
get it.
totally like, oh my
Yeah.
God, he's asking me a question. How do I answer this with some intellect? And I had an answer, but
Wait,
it was a
Were you a coach at that time? Did
Yeah.
that happen?
Yeah.
You should have done the coaching move where
Did
it's
he-
like just reflect it back with a question.
Well, I did. I did a little move back.
Yeah, a little.
Not exactly a coaching question, but I reflected enough of what they use to make it sound. But
did he think you were a
he goes, "Well,
neuroscientist?
tell me about yourself. Who are you?" And I'm like, oh, another swear word. I'm nobody. Don't ask me any more questions. Please don't ask me any more questions.
I like that she turned into like a Southern Belle at the
Yeah, that
end
was
of that.
great.
The more embarrassed
Oh
Lisa
my
gets, the more
God.
southern she becomes.
That's hilarious.
Since we're sharing awkward stories, I've got one it's more tragic than shameful. I was in high school with my church youth group. We're wrapping up a 2-week West Coast missions tour where we're in a bus. We're doing missionary stuff with the homeless, ministering, having a good time. And it's at the end. And I've been on this bus with these people for 2 weeks now. And, they're fun. It's all right. We're always joking around and getting into trouble. We're taking the train from Union Station to the San Bernardino station. It's the last, 30 minutes of the way home. We're in the home stretch. The bus or the train stops in the middle of the tracks. Just a complete dead stop in the middle of the tracks. And we're like, what's going on? And then one of the older guys was like, we hit someone. And I was like, no, we didn't hit anyone. You're being dumb, stupid. And everyone was chatting. And I was like, we did not hit anyone. I was saying super loud. And eventually one of the adults was like, Anthony, we hit someone and they're dead. Stop talking. And I was like, oh. And we all had to get off the train. There was an ambulance and firefighters, and we had to take city buses the last 10 minutes of the ride to our parents.
Oh my God.
That is insane.
Yeah. We joke about it now, kind
Typical
of.
Anthony. Just
but at the time, it was like we were this close to just wrapping it up, and we were joking around and having a fun time the entire time. And yeah, the train hit someone.
Jeez.
Wait, a train on a track.
It happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
Very common. It happens out here all the time with our train that goes to LA all the time. Very common. Like almost
how?
Once
How do
a week.
people not hear a
sometimes it's on purpose.
Some people do it on purpose.
Yeah, sometimes it's on
other
purpose.
times it's just drunk people or people
transient
or
types.
homeless.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
It happens a lot in Japan.
We're on the wrong track.
Anyways, it was a super awkward, embarrassing moment for myself. I know I'm overshadowing that with the story that someone died.
Yeah, I know. Good choice, Anthony.
That's worse.
Way to bring it down. Way to bring it down.
It was a very awkward moment.
That's pretty socially awkward that you thought it was a joke and kept repeating that it was.
It was a spiritually awkward moment, and I'm no longer a Christian because of it.
Oh my God.
Okay, mute him.
Does anybody have a funnier awkward story?
I think we all do.
I have a. Yeah. So somebody else go, and we're gonna have to rate which is the most awkward.
Okay, so I don't know. I feel like I'm awkward all the time. This is a question I was gonna ask you guys. I feel like for me, I have always felt awkward and weird and out of place. And so my entire life and personality has kind of been formed around that knowledge in many ways, how to handle this social situation, how to do, and all of it's very very much who from even as a kid, I remember being made fun of for my weird brain and silly things I did. And so I feel like I've always been awkward. So there's really not a lot of I'm just used to being awkward, I guess. You know what I mean? And goofy and weird. And it's just kind of a cornerstone of who I am as a human being.
So you don't have like standout stories because it's just all over the place.
I think the only standout stories I have probably involve flatulence. Probably. Again, because I'm a very active person, right? And I'm a very, I'm trying to think of something more recently. I was like, well, like this, and it happens to every aerialist, every person who is hurtling their feet over their head. I've had people next to me do it. Everybody does it. But there are those moments where it's just like you are literally straining every muscle in your body to hold yourself in the air. And what do you think is going to happen once in a while?
I've been to her aerial studio and it smells crazy.
Oh, that's not true.
I was going to say they need a lot of air freshener.
That is not true.
Oh my
definitely
God,
the first time something like that happened, I was embarrassed. But now, like, I'm like, it's not something I'm like embracing, but like, there are shirts with aerialists that say like, don't fart as they're holding things and stuff, because it's true. Like, and also like you're consuming lots of protein, so you have muscles and like all of these things. So it all comes together and like, it just happens. It happens to everybody. So it's one of those things where like, I've had it happen too with my clients in the Pilates studio and things like that. And
you I make fun of them for it?
I try to either ignore it, but if they bring it up, then we laugh about it. I remember the first time it happened to me at the Pilates studio was with Allie, and I was like, yeah, that just happened. You know, I was like, I just farted. She was like, it happens all the time, but I think you're the first one to acknowledge it. And I'm like, well, that's my approach to my awkwardness always, is just to like embrace it, put it out there. This is who I am, and let's move forward.
I've also been to Brooke's Pilates studio and it smells crazy.
Oh, shut up, Anthony.
That's one of the strategies that I was reading for how to meet awkwardness and make it less awkward is self-awareness and humor. And I mean, that's a strategy.
As a kid, I remember vividly the first time I tripped and fell in front of a group of people. Like I tripped and full on face planted. And my immediate response was to make it a joke, like to make everybody laugh about it. And like that, it was like let's make this a joke.
Did you
know?
Oh man, this is
what
you probably. I don't think Jerome. You know the episode of SpongeBob where he rips his pants?
Yes, of course.
And then he makes it a thing. The lesson is you can make it a joke only once, maybe twice. But if you keep making it a joke, then it's just awkward.
No, but then it comes back full circle. It's like it comes full circle.
Back to awkwardness.
It gets weird for a minute, but then it comes all the way back around.
I oftentimes feel awkward on this.
On CLCI Live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
to us or to other people?
I get into a place where I'm sharing and then when I'm done, it's everybody's quiet and I'm thinking, oh God, it's the overthinking part.
Yes, I do that too, for sure.
Yeah.
And
right. Was that not bright? Was that not the
yes. And because we're virtual, I still don't know like what the what are the manners, you know, when it comes to talking or acknowledging that I want to talk. I'm always like, did I just interject inappropriately? Did I just cut someone? I think I cut someone off. Oh God.
Like the number of times, I mean, I think I've said this, but we all do it, is like, in this case, I would rather we talk over each other than wait in awkward silence. Like that is when it gets awkward for me. I would rather we are all interrupting each other and being what we might call in any other social situation rude. Okay. In this one, please, free for all. Let's. I would rather that than
silent. You don't want to have a dead silence.
However, that's different in coaching, though. We embrace that awkward silence.
We want to make it as coaches make it as awkward as possible.
Which kind of brings me, we're about at our halfway point, so this is a good time for us to start to, and this is something Anthony asked me, and he's like, when you chose this topic, why did you choose it? How does it relate to coaching? Well, you know, he was giving.
Why are you saying it like that?
Because at the time, I was gonna strangle you because I was like, oh, I don't want to explain this to you right now, and you're making me. So now when I say it back, I'm gonna say it in the demandy voice. Okay. Oh, we need Jerome's awkward moment though. Yeah, true story.
Yeah. Okay, I will give mine. It's pretty short, but I think it sticks out because it was awkward internally and externally. I was in high school just like Anthony, and me and a couple of the players on the football team, everybody, the seniors down to the freshmen, were playing with no pads because we're stupid and young and dumb. And I thought, as a freshman, that it'd be a smart idea to go up against one of the biggest dudes on the team. And because I caught a wide open pass, and I'm like, I'm about to just beat this guy to the end zone.
Oh my
And
God.
I don't know why that was in my head, because it was like the furthest thing from the truth. And I eventually caught him on the sideline, went down hard, got up. I had my adrenaline racing, so I didn't know what happened, but somebody pointed at my hand, and my entire hand was above my wrist. It was completely broken. So that was embarrassing, considering I thought I can go up against a senior, and then also it hurt. So I mean, that was pretty.
Your hand was in an awkward position.
My hand was completely mangled. It was not fun.
Was it? Was the pain worse than the way you felt on the inside, or was the embarrassment?
I think it was equal. Honestly, I think it was pretty equal.
Well, which is a good point. Oh, sorry, Durham. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, at night, when I was at home by myself, the pain externally was obviously much more prevalent at that time. But when it happened, it was both. I think it was both internally and externally equally embarrassing, awkward.
And I think it's fair for us to note that when it comes to embarrassment, it registers to our brain the same way physical pain does. So it is physically painful for us when we are embarrassed. Like we register it in the same way. Pretty much. I
was watching cringe videos before this, and I was doing this face.
I don't know. I am less. I feel in the moments when especially when I'm watching videos, and maybe this is neurodivergence, right? When I'm watching things with Anthony, he will get very he is uncomfortable. He'll have moments where he is uncomfortable, and I'm just not phased. I'm just like, oh, it's just happened.
You're like, oh, this is normal.
And he's like, I can't. This is, and I'm like, it's completely unfazed. And maybe that is the neurodivergent side of me, where I am just like, I should be more aware of the emotional, side of things in those moments. But I can just be like, whatevs. He's like, it doesn't make you uncomfortable. Love is like, when we watch Love is Blind and things like that. And he's like, go, yeah. I'm like, whatevs.
Love on the spectrum. Or The Last of Us season 2, where I won't spoil it, but Ellie did something.
I haven't seen it yet.
Made me cringe.
I only saw the first episode.
I will not watch it because zombies scare me.
It's not a zombie. It's a fungally infected.
They're zombies.
That
zombies
scares me.
Of a different kind. Zombies of a different flavor. Which zombies are tasty. So these ones are probably the tastiest because they're made from mushrooms.
That's true. Like portobellos and other types of mushrooms. You were saying, how does this relate to coaching?
But I think it's important for us to note that it registers as painful, this embarrassment, which is why we probably perseverate over it, overthink it, all of these things, and it's because it's physically painful for us to feel embarrassed, and that's built in on an evolutionary construct, so that we can exist in social situations and do so in a way that is harmonious. So if you think about it, the reason it exists for a reason. It exists so that we can be social creatures, and so that it does help us sort of guide the way we interact with other people. And I think the more embarrassed we feel, the more we tend to start to either curb that behavior or just accept it. just go with it. So I think that is just important thing to note when we ask ourselves, like, why does it matter? Why do we think about it? Why do I think about it? Why do I have PTSD over it? Well, it's because it is physically painful to our brain and body, much in the same way physical pain is painful.
Psychic damage from it.
So now let's bring it to the coaching space, right? Let's swing on over. Let's turn to the coaching.
Which among us felt awkward the first time we had a coaching session where we were the coach?
Oh God. I mean, I wanted to die.
Yeah.
I remember you guys putting us in the breakout and I go, I don't know what to do. I hope you know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm in the breakout session with. Like, I was just absolute panic meltdown. And he was like, okay, we'll figure this out. It's going to be okay. Like, he calmed me down.
I love that. No, that's great though. That's good to know. I mean, I think part of the reason we do that, right? Get you coaching, rip that band-aid off, you know?
And it worked so well because there was nothing more awkward than that breakout session. That was it. So like, we got that out of the way and it was downhill from there, like in a good way, like sliding down the hill. Each time we went to a breakout, it was slightly less awkward after that.
Jen, have you ever coached in person?
No.
No? Okay. Yeah, that was my first experience was in person. I tried to play it cool, but I was trembling. It was in Costa Mesa, and my goodness, yeah, as being behind the screen is or at least in your own space, it gives you a little bit more of a sense of comfortability. But yeah, in person.
Wait, was this during a class in person?
Yeah.
Or?
Yes.
Oh,
Jerome has been here that long.
Class.
Yes.
Wow.
Jerome is OG.
Where was that? What?
Costa Mesa.
Costa Mesa.
At a hotel.
A location down there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No,
wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I bet that would have been.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think my first coaching sessions were all that awkward, but I've had awkward moments in coaching sessions, especially I get awkward with emotions. People who display emotions a lot more openly than I do. I tend to feel like a bit awkward, like I don't know how to navigate the situation to make it okay.
I still want to coach you about that right now, but we're not going to do it.
I don't want to work on it. It's not a goal I have in mind.
Yes, so we want you to work on it.
Yeah, so I told my client, hey, if you could just stop crying right now so we could
I know you
session, that would be awesome.
Oh my God.
No, he did not.
No, and I think they were happy tears when it was happening. But I still felt a little awkward.
I'm sure being around me, because I cry at everything.
I'm desensitized by you at this point.
Has helped
whatever you're crying about, I'm just like, she probably watched a sad movie 5 minutes ago or TikTok.
One of those people like it's this right song will make me cry. Like like I can get emotional over very little things.
But back to the point, coaches, if you're a new coach, you're probably going to feel awkward being in the coaching seat because it'll be awkward for you because you might not have been in a situation before where like you're the expert. Like we have to listen to what you're saying because you're the expert coach in the room. So that might make you feel awkward.
Let's talk about let's really quick. Let's first let's talk about the reasons why. Like, just let's give like tangible, real world examples of what I mean. You've given one, Anthony, being in emotion, having your client being emotional, and you feeling awkward in that moment. What are other reasons that a coach might feel awkward in the coaching space?
I have one. And this was in like my first 6 months. And this was before I had further training too, on trauma. And I was asking into everything she was saying deeper and deeper and deeper without recognizing that she was getting like to a place where she didn't want to go there. I wasn't picking up on that. And there was a final question where she just kind of like, you could tell she was upset, like triggered that I was continuing to ask deeper. Like she didn't want to go there. And so her response was just like, it just is, okay? And I remember like, oh, what have I done here? Oh no, I felt so bad. And it was so awkward for me because I'm like, I do recognize now, looking back, what has taken place, and I'm going to correct this, and I'm not going to do this again. But boy, was that like an awkward learning experience for me. And also I felt really, truly, like compassion for her because I felt awful that I didn't recognize the signs and just kept asking. So I think that can happen when you're new.
Did that get resolved between you and the client? Like, what was the rest of the?
Well, wait, let's wait.
Like?
Let's go there in a second. Like, I want to stay here in this space, but I want to circle back to like how we handle those things and what we do about them afterwards. So, like, what other tangible reasons, real life reasons might? I mean, I can think of one that I had not too long ago. I had a client that was just not wanting to sort of was stuck in like a loop and I kept trying to ask or get them to a different, and it just was, nothing was working. Like nothing. Yeah. And I was getting like, so I just like, I had a moment like, and just go, okay. Where it just was like frustrating, where it was like, how I feel like I don't know what I can do in this situation, because it just felt like the client wasn't even, wanting to work with me, like work in it. And so I had to pivot my approach, again, do something different with my approach. But in the moment, I felt under pressure to keep it going, and then it just nothing was working. And it was like, I just wanted to be like, I give up, and that was definitely a moment where I felt awkward, because I had to pause and I had to take time for me to figure out what to do next in that situation where, it didn't feel like it was flowing, like we can get in flowy, and it did not feel like a flowy coaching session. It was more like a pulling teeth coaching session. And it was definitely lots of awkward feeling moments in that session. Any other examples?
Yeah. One of the earlier times I was coaching, and like, you're thinking of the question that you want to ask in your head, and that thought process is running parallel to my client who's talking, and just letting them talk and get their thoughts out. And then there's a pause, and they're waiting for me to respond, and I wasn't paying attention to what they're saying. I'm like, and just like, there's just a dead silence. And it's not one of those good silences where you're holding the silence. It's I wasn't paying attention kind of silence. So, but I think I teased it. I was like, going back to what you said about X,
really?
How does that relate to what you said now? And I had no idea what they said now. Completely, I think I just completely ignored that. But I was able to get them to tie it together. And then I was like, okay, now I'm picking up the threads of the conversation. But like, oh, that felt bad.
I definitely had moments where like I went to reflect and then couldn't remember.
Yes.
Like, yes.
So many times.
So we're tying it back to our forgetfulness live. Cool.
And then that feels a little awkward.
Yes.
Lisa, did you have?
I have a few of them. So the one I'm thinking of, I was reminded by one that the one you were sharing. I was actually up in front of everybody coaching someone, and again, not flowing, getting one word answers. And was he trying to be a difficult client? I don't know if he was trying or not. It wasn't working, right? There's just one word answers. And like, okay, what do I need to do here? It was very awkward feeling in that space. And then that pivot of changing the tactic of how I was coaching him became an important focus. And once I did that, once I pivoted, which was me not talking and me just writing, and then asking a question about what we were writing, and made the focus there about it not being, and the client, because we were in a room full of people, the focus became the board because we wrote on it. Then the flow just opened up and that awkwardness went away, but that it took a little time to get there.
Mm-hmm. Group coaching can be a whole nother level, bring up a whole nother level of awkward moments for sure. I've done it a couple times, and there's like a whole bag of tricks that you don't even think about, like that are like, oh.
And then another one where it just wasn't flowing, was feeling really. So this had been someone I had coached for quite a while, and it was really in a weird space. And I was like, what is this about? I don't understand. And eventually, as we pivoted around a few times of figuring out what to do, that person was holding a secret from their partner. And once the secret was out, the coaching session then flew.
What was the secret?
Couples, yeah, that's a whole. I'm sure there can be.
Yeah, that could be awkward.
Yeah.
I've got a few.
You've got a few.
Keep them coming.
I do. So, a lot of times when I reflect, I trust that I'm going to find the words. I don't pre-plan anymore. I used to in the beginning, and I realize that actually gets in the way. So I just have this self-trust of like, I'm going to figure it out. But there are times when I cannot get the word. And so I'm aware of that now. And so what I usually do now is I'm like, I can't quite think of the word. Maybe you can help me. And I enroll the client in the process. In the past, though, I would be like, I can't think of the word. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Hold on. Like, how awkward is that?
Yeah,
don't do that anymore.
Let's set a timer and I'll come back in 5 minutes.
For sure. And that's a perfect dovetail. Oh wait, no, you have more. You have more.
I have 2 more. Yeah.
Okay.
So I also when the client continues to treat you as if you're someone that should be giving them guidance and advice, and they keep responding in a way where they are asking you directly over and over and over, well, what do you think? And it's like super awkward in the beginning when you're a new coach, you don't know what to do with this. But once you do understand, like, for me, my go-to is, well, what do you think? Immediately give it back to them. They usually recognize, oh, that's right, this is coaching. And if they don't, at some point I will say, you're continuing to ask me, do you think that's what you need? Because I'm not the person for that. I'm coaching you. And so if that's something you need, let's look into that. Like, basically, like, if that's what you want, great, but I can't give that. So let's just make sure that, you want the coaching process. That usually makes them go, no, I don't really want that. It's just, that's just how I am, and that's good because now that's brought to the surface.
And yeah, you can ask into that, how does that
exactly
serve you?
Yeah.
What does that do for you? Yeah, go ahead.
And the last one.
I wrote words that I don't know. Oh my gosh, this is awkward, you guys. I wrote it down and now I don't even know what I mean.
Okay.
I wrote.
Well, that's very
Why don't you ask us to help you?
Oh, okay. Don't know. Check. Okay. So when you ask something and the client's just like, I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
And there is this moment when you're a new coach where you're like, what? But you need to speak now.
I don't know. And if you don't know, then who's driving the coaching session?
We have a whole live on that topic too. So check that out. If you
And the answer to that is this is awkward. Mm-hmm. But you get to learn how to be comfortable with this pause, this awkwardness, because it actually serves the client. Because who else is doing that? No one else. Everyone else is filling the space. You're there to hold the space. So once you kind of understand that, it might still be awkward to you, but you at least can do it.
So like the solutions that we, in our research that we've been given for like socially awkward moments, unfortunately, I don't think apply all that well in the coaching seat, right? Like, as a coach, like if it's awkward, we can't laugh it off, like maybe, but probably there might be a way to get that,
There's times that happens though. I mean, when you're in sync with the client, it's not a new client by any means that typically you're going to do that with, but a client that knows you and the client is in from sessions, there was times that I just burst out laughing and I'm like, oh shit. And they're laughing with me. I'm like, oh, thank God, but yeah, there's definitely times in that awkward moment and of something coming up or something askew happened.
But like as a coach, I can't be like, that was awkward. That was weird. I can't believe I just did that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I saw a really good piece of advice on like, and I think the typical things that I read was like, if you're awkward, like just, like just acknowledge it. Just say,
Own it.
yeah, own it. I'm an awkward person. Here I am. I'm going to say the opposite. If you know you're an awkward person, don't say that you're awkward.
Just be
because
awkward.
You don't have the charisma to pull it off. and most of the time, people do not notice anyways. This is like an internal you thing. If you just don't acknowledge it and you just full steam ahead, let's just continue.
True story. So that was one of my earlier lessons I've learned is like, it's this like, maybe if I don't bring it up, nobody will notice. Mm-hmm. And like
most of the time
living my life that way, because the moment I bring it up after it's happened, I've now shined a giant flashlight on that awkward moment, and I would rather it just goes away. So let's not bring it up unless somebody else does.
It's one of those things you learn in improv and acting. Like if you're doing theater or improv or you're on camera, just continue. Do not stop the scene. Do not acknowledge the awkwardness or the mistake. Keep the show going, because most of the time, no one's going to notice. And second of all, you might get something good out of it. That little tweak moment where things don't go according to plan. But something good might come of it.
All of these moments, though, like where we have this internal, I mean, we're human. We have this internal moment as a coach. Oh my gosh, that was awkward. What I did was awkward. This feels awkward. This feels weird. I feel uncomfortable. In every other situation where we can address that, his point is like, just keep going. But I still have to process that at some point, right? As a coach, don't I? I mean, or do I just?
Do you mean in the session or just like in general?
I mean, obviously we can't in the session, but do I process it afterwards? Do I talk to somebody about it? Do I talk to myself about it? Do I journal it? I mean, like, how do we?
You host a live every Tuesday and you talk about it with your colleagues about your awkward moments, or you have a network of coaches you share funny stories with or embarrassing stories with.
I think there's times you just let it go. I think there's times you work on it. I think there's times you talk to somebody else. It's going to just depend on you and what your, I guess, need is at the time, or what your want is at the time on how it impacted you and how you're dealing with it.
So now, go ahead.
So for me also, I believe, whether it's true, I don't know if it's true or not. I believe that I'm awkward and I just allow it. I decided early on, if I'm going to coach, I'm allowed to be awkward, and my client will either like me or they won't. And it's okay either way. And so if I'm awkward, it's fine. Like, that's just who I am. I'm allowed to be awkward. I don't even acknowledge it. Like Anthony said, like, I'm not going to make a thing out of it. It's just me. So I think that's part of it. Like, just allow it.
It is what it is. We're coming towards the end of our time here. I wanted to talk about awkwardness for the client. So how does awkwardness come up for our client? How does this theme of awkwardness.
In the session, is it in the session between you and the client, or is it in their lives, like in their goals that they want? Because you show up in both ways, but a little bit different.
Yes.
Gotcha. We'll try to do that in the next 7 minutes.
Well, you do one, Jen do another, and make it short.
So clients being awkward in a session, that just comes down to you, the coach, being perceptive enough to read the signs and be able to read the room. So like, if your client is kind of closed off, or they're tripping over their words, or maybe they're talking too fast, or they're getting flustered, you can set the pace as the coach and be like, you like to take a breath, you like to take a beat, maybe collect your thoughts. How are you feeling right now? You can ask that question.
Yeah, I mean, we don't assume they're awkward because their arms are crossed. Don't assume that means
but there's signs that someone's feeling awkward or embarrassed.
I think also you can have a client just that will acknowledge it. Like, I'm not comfortable. I'm not used to talking about this. I feel uncomfortable talking about this. I feel awkward sharing this. I feel this, sharing this is not something I would normally do. This is not something I say out loud. This is, these are all indicators that our client might be experiencing this sort of feeling of awkwardness. Yeah. And early on, while you're building trust, right, we're going to be getting to these places that are very vulnerable and emotional, and those are very awkward to share things. And so it's going to, earlier on, they're probably going to feel more awkward than they will as you develop that relationship with them and that trust with them.
On top of that, because coaching tends to attract empathetic people, it is your professional duty to not get caught up in the awkwardness with them if they're feeling awkward. You ought to be cool, calm, collected, empathetic, but just because they're feeling awkward doesn't mean that you're allowed to feel awkward as a coach. Like,
if you do, you do. I don't. However you feel.
I mean, you do, but the way you present yourself, you don't.
Not going to show it.
You don't show it.
You're not going to be like.
You don't cringe at the things that your clients say. Don't do that.
Okay, now I'm following you. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. What I'm saying is
response or your reaction to.
It's okay. And we were discussing this for the past 50 minutes, how it's okay to be awkward as a coach and accept it. But at a certain point, you're a professional. Don't make this face at them.
Yeah, of course. But also don't feel the need to fix their awkwardness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't feel the need to fix their awkwardness. Let them sit in their awkwardness. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them feel those feelings. You can ask into those feelings, and that might be a very important indicator that is something that they want to explore, right? That it might be an indicator that there is some emotion attached, right? There's something there that is making them feel awkward. So that for me is a big like, hey, this is okay. We're getting to a space that is maybe, I mean, it could be head centered, it could be heart centered, it could be either, right? There's something there that's bringing that up for them. I guess it's an indicator that your client is feeling vulnerable. And so
you don't want to get into rescue mode. This is
we don't need to fix that. We can allow that.
Them rescued. Yeah.
Allow those feelings, allow those emotions. You don't have to make it feel, oh my God, my client's feeling awkward or uncomfortable. I have to make them feel comfortable. They're allow that. Hold the space for that emotion and that feeling.
I think as a client, like speaking from experience as a client, in the beginning, it was super awkward for me. The silence, I was not expecting it. And I was like, I don't know what to do, but I'm just going to speak because I cannot stand this silence.
That's how we can weaponize awkwardness as coaches.
Yeah. Well, we do weaponize it with silence. We absolutely do. Yeah.
That's the tactic. It worked well. And then the other one was when I got emotional, and still to this day, if I get emotional in a coaching session, I feel awkward because I do not like crying in front of people. I just don't like how it feels. It feels super vulnerable. And so I've just flat out made it known, like.
And then your coach makes this face. When you're crying.
It's just part of who I am, is I do not like crying in front of people. I know that there's nothing wrong with crying, but like, I don't like doing it in front of people, and I'm never going to. That's not changing. So I feel awkward when I start to cry.
We'll see one day, Jen. We'll get you to cry on the live. Final thoughts? Anyone else? Final thoughts on awkwardness? I feel like we could have gone for like another 30 minutes.
Fly your freak flag high. Go out and be awkward. Maybe your awkward will inspire an awkward in somebody else, and then it will be
everyone's always feeling uncomfortable all the time.
A butterfly awkward effect, and awkward will become the new norm.
Start spreading like.
And being normal would be awkward.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's maybe why like neurodivergent people tend to go together in groups, just because like we understand each other's social weirdness.
I think we are at a point that normal people are kind of awkward to be around. Again, Jerome might be the only person who would get this reference, but normal SpongeBob.
Oh god, yeah.
When he's like perfectly smooth
creepy,
and just like
creepy. Just
hi,
Oh my God.
how are you? How's it going? So yeah, I don't know. Be awkward. Let it just be awkward for a moment. That's okay.
Yeah, Anthony, you talked about people not noticing. Sometimes people just don't care either.
That's
They
true.
care more about themselves.
I notice
than they do
every
about
awkward
their
thing
situation.
you guys do, but I am kind enough to not care.
Baloney.
Anthony points it out to me all the time. Are you kidding me?
How selfless of you.
My laugh, my
Well, I
everything.
want to
He
fix
said he was
her.
going to make fun of my laugh today. My uncomfortable.
You
laugh.
walked into the
I didn't
room and
notice
you're
it.
You called me awkward.
You
started
said
it.
I have to do all this research on being awkward, and I said,
Started
"Why
off
do the research when you live it every day?"
And then you did your laugh, and I was like, and then you were like, "Don't make fun of the way I laugh." I was like, "That wasn't making fun of the way you laugh. I could really make fun of the way you laugh."
Oh, and then,
And
see,
then you
it
got
mean.
sad.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is gonna turn into me being mean to Brooke.
Yeah, see?
So
See?
we're gonna end the live here.
I didn't
Final
share an awkward
thoughts for
story.
everybody.
I didn't share an awkward story.
Yeah.
I have 3, but we only have time for 1.
Give
so
it.
do you
We'll
want
end
the
it
most
with Jen's awkward story.
Give the worst one.
or the worst? I can't say it live.
Do the worst
I'll have to
one.
tell you in private.
Second from the worst.
Second from the worst is I was like 25 and my friends just got a new house and I wasn't familiar with their house and I had just picked up booze and I walk in the house and I'm like, party's here, and it is not their house. It is a dad and his 13-year-old son watching baseball. And the boy was like, Dad? Like, did you invite her over? Like, the boy was like, what is happening? And the dad was like, hey. Like, he was like cool with it. And I was just like, oh God, I'm so sorry. Have a nice evening, boys. Goodbye. That was
Okay.
That does remind me of another story.
That is
very
not
quickly
fair.
share it.
That's a winner so far.
I have to hop off, so you're gonna have to share that story
All right.
without me here.
Goodbye, Brooke. Really quickly, invited to a Halloween get-together party, and we were all going to go to the house, my friend's house or his parents' house, and then we would go to the bar. I show up. I'm dressed as a clown doctor, and I burst into the room, and no one is dressed up. Like, we're going out on Halloween, and they're like, we didn't say we were dressing up for this. And I was like, I have to go to the bar dressed like this now. And then I did.
See, that's a situation where normal is
Good for you.
awkward. It's Halloween season. Come on.
Yeah,
oh, that's great.
Very foolish, though, but it was funny.
Oh my
That's it.
God.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment. And if you want to have awkward moments, they're not going to be found in our classes. Our classes are awesome. You won't feel awkward. You'll feel empowered.
Except in that first breakout.
The first breakout will be awkward. The rest will be awesome and amazing.
Yeah.
And you'll learn how to coach effectively in Coaching 101 and Coaching 102. So we'll see you guys next week. We'll have another Being Human 101, and we'll see you guys then.
Yep.
All right.